What is up, everybody? Welcome to the first ever Super Wild Card Weekend edition of Moneyline and Wine, powered by Pro Football Network and sponsored by MonkeyKnifeFight.com. We are, of course, your one-stop shop for all things Friday Night Fantasy and NFL betting. And we are back after a 2-week hiatus that seems more like a 2-decade hiatus. It's great to see those beautiful faces. One of them smiling back at me and one ready to throw the knife in my back, as he was already doing behind the scenes earlier today. But let's get to the queen herself of the Free Cash crew, the one, the only Jessica Gonzalez. Jess, how are you tonight?
I'm good. Feeling good. I'm excited. It's playoffs, baby. Yeah, it's going to be a fun weekend.
It is. We've got triple headers both Saturday and Sunday. And then, of course, the national championship game on Monday night. And with that, we'll introduce the third member of our trio. He's, of course, a huge Ohio State fan, just like me, so he's amped for Monday night.
Why do I do this show? Why am I here?
He is PFN's Mr. Million Reader. He is our fantasy guru, and he is our resident Met fan also. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Francisco, and who knows, maybe it'll be Springer and Chris Bryant coming next. Who knows? There's a smorgasbord with the Mets. How you feeling about that, Mr. Tommy Garrett?
This is what hope feels like. It's a really weird feeling for me, honestly, ever in my life to have hope. Which just means I'm ready just to crash. If anything 20 taught me, it was like, don't get your hopes up or anything. But it happened. It's cool. Hopefully we can pull off Bauer, especially add him with Carrasco. You've got DeGrom, bring back Syndergaard at some point, and we got to figure out what to happen with center field. And other than that, hey, things are looking up for the Mets for the first time since ever.
Yeah, I mentioned I don't root against the Mets. My wife is a big Mets fan. My daughter's name is Shay, and it's literally, yes, it does have something to do with Shea Stadium, believe it or not. So
I like your wife more and more all the time, to be honest. Like, she's way better than you.
Right?
I don't know. I don't know how it happened where my kid's literally my son's named after Drew Brees and my daughter's named, although my daughter's middle name is Harper, and that's a Bryce Harper thing. So
it's excusable. He's got the flow.
Yeah, he's a handsome dude, so I'm not afraid to say that. All right, we have a fun show for you tonight. As always, Anita Marks will join us in the 7:30 window to talk some fantasy. This week, fantasy will be much more DFS related, and of course, as always, we'll talk a bunch of MonkeyKnifeFight.com plays. Tommy very shortly will have his favorite play of the week, and our buddy Brett Yaris, who's behind the glass again tonight, he will join us also to talk about his favorite play. Instead of our normal 3-game slate, we're just going to go ahead and attack the entire double 3-game window. We're going to attack all 6 games from a fantasy and betting perspective. So stay tuned for that. And as always, fire away with the questions in the comments section. We'll try to get to as many as we can along the way. The format will be just about the same as it always is, where we'll talk our first 3 games. We'll get Anita in here, and then we'll probably go off the rails at some point right around the time Anita gets in here with her dogs and her drinks and whatever else is going on. But that's the way we like it around here. Yeah, so the show, though, in case you're just joining in, is called Moneyline and Wine for a reason. So we're going to start with you, Jess. Jess, since the regular season is over, do you want to talk to us about how you did and maybe let us know what you're drinking tonight?
Yeah, so my record right now is 94.68. I'm up 39 units, and my overall winning percentage is 58%. And what I'm drinking to celebrate is just some Sauvignon Blanc here.
Nice. Yeah, Jess and I are combined up 50 units. So how do you like that? If you can do the math, you can figure out how many I finished up.
We're doing no math. Let's not.
Oh, boy. And as for you, Thomas, last year, so close, but no cigar in the Scott Fish Bowl. How did you do in all your fantasy leagues this year?
It's honestly really hard to determine like success this year because of how crazy the year was. Honestly, we were just glad we even had a damn season, to be honest, with how close this could have been not even having one. Teams where I had Chris McCaffrey, that sucked. But getting on the early waiver guys, like, your James Robinsons, if you're able to draft Antonio Gibsons in some areas, getting Justin Jefferson's, that definitely helped. I had a good call going for a while with Jonnu Smith as a top 6 tight end, and he was up until Taylor Lewan got injured, and they kind of kept him more in line to block, so they kind of ruined that. But you saw the potential there.
Ferkster. How many times did I have to see Ferkster catch?
Oh my God, it killed me. But yeah, I mean, overall, it wasn't bad. Walked away with some hardware, got a little money on the side, but it was, like I said, it's such an up and down year. It was a bad year to have 21 different fantasy leagues. That's for damn sure.
Ooh, yeah. I did not make the playoffs in my hometown league, which is the only one I really care about. So, but like you said, it was just one of those things. We made it through the entire season, so that in and of itself, it caused me to lose a wager. I thought that for sure we would hit week 18, but that never happened. So
it looked like it. It looked like Baltimore was going to do it for you. Same with Tennessee.
What are you doing? What are you drinking tonight?
Just some decent runner on the rocks, and I got some Modelo sitting next to me too when this runs out.
There you go. Keeping it simple tonight. All right. As for me, I'm drinking a Catharsis by Treehouse. Let's get that can in there. Oh, that is pretty. Catharsis. It's sort of how I'm feeling. Cathartic right now. I'm trying to wash away all the football demons and move on to the NBA. I'm in NBA mode. I know Brett loves it, especially since the Nets stink. He doesn't know what he's doing with himself. So yeah, I'm in full.
I don't have a basketball team. Like, I don't have an NBA team.
No,
I've never had one.
Well, that's because what Pittsburgh doesn't have one, obviously, right? So
I'm in Indiana, so you've got the Pacers here, but like, I don't like any of like the local teams or whatever. Like, nothing against them, it's just never been my thing. Like, I just never had like a diehard NBA team. Like, I just always.
Do you root for Michigan basketball? Like,
yeah, we're a basketball school.
Okay.
Yeah, we're a basketball school anymore. Like, we just gave Harbaugh a 5-year extension. You have Michigan State and Ohio State all laughing at us. So that's good news.
Yeah, the fact that they liked the tweet, that was just so classic.
That's brilliant. Yeah. But Michigan's undefeated. We have the #1 class next year. So that's my hope right now.
Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna go right back to you, Tommy, because we're gonna want to hear, before we get to the Saturday games, we want to hear about your favorite monkey knife fight play, whether it be a touchdown dance or one of those over-under deals. What do you got? And for people out there, if you haven't already done so, make sure you download the app, use promo code PFN, and we will match you 100% match bonus up to $50 on your initial deposit. You can thank me later. monkeyknifefight.com or Monkey Knife Fight on your app on your mobile device. So go ahead, Tommy. It's all you, brother.
Yeah, this week's really weird. You can almost eliminate half the games because of question marks with different players when you're looking at things like your rush hour contest, reception contest, whatever, fantasy challenge. So I would, if you're going to put any big wager plays this weekend, I would stick probably to the touchdown dance. If I'm going to go one, I'm probably going to look for one that I think might be the highest scoring game. It also probably has the least amount of question marks, and that's going to be Baltimore against Tennessee. I think your two obvious plays are going to be Derrick Henry and then J.K. Dobbins for touchdowns, given the streaks that these guys have been on. We'll kind of touch on that a little bit later on when we focus more on the game. So you're looking for your third option. AJ Brown could make some sense. You could also go with someone like a Marquise Brown, who's had 6 touchdowns towards the last part of the season. But if I was going to pick one person, I would pick Lamar Jackson's probably favorite target when he actually is kind of going and doing what he normally does. That's going to be Mark Andrews. The Tennessee Titans have arguably the worst defensive matchup for the entire wild card slate. And look at the tight end. They're going to be the 13th most points to the tight ends. Their 75.2% completion rate is the highest in the league. They're allowing 8.32 yards per target. And the last time these teams matched up, Mark Andrews had five catches, 96 yards, and a touchdown. You only need 2.5 touchdowns. So you need 3 essentially in this one. That'll give you a 1.5 prize. If these guys can hit 4 scores in total, that'll give you a 4x return on your investment. I think it's a pretty good deal if you're going Dobbins, Henry, and Andrews to go for more than 3 touchdowns.
Excellent. Yeah, I love Dobbins this week myself.
Yep.
We'll talk more about that when we get to that game. Yep. I have some questions about where exactly you might have him ranked in terms of comparison with other running backs. But without further ado, let's get to the full slate of games for Saturday. We'll start with the 1 p.m. game. Colts at Bills. Line teetering on 6.5 to 7. Total around 51. Jess, we're going to start with you this time. The public loves the Bills. but as soon as the line hits 7, it seems to come right back down to 6.5. That tells me the Sharps are jumping in as soon as they can get a touchdown with the Colts. What do you think in this one? Do you agree that the Colts are the play, or do you think the Bills run wild on them like they did our beloved Dolphins last week?
Yeah, well, this is a play I'm just leaning towards. I haven't made any bets yet, but I like the dogs on this one. I like the Colts +7. I like it at 6.5 as well, but I would probably buy the hook and get the 7 because the Colts have an elite defense with a top 3 run defense. Their offensive line is also top 3 in the league, so they're going to be able to protect Rivers. On top of that, the Bills blitz at a top 10 rate in the league, but only get pressure 21% of the time, which is bottom 10. The Bills allow 4.6 yards per carry to opposing running backs and have given up 26 rushing touchdowns this year, which is the 6th most. They're going up against Jonathan Taylor, who is an elite running back, and he's definitely proven it, especially in the last 6 weeks. I also feel like the Colts need to establish the run and control the clock and keeping the ball out of Josh Allen's hands. If they're able to do that, they're going to limit the explosive plays that the Bills are capable of doing. I see this game being close, but I like the Colts, and I'm not with the public on this one. So yeah, I'm leaning the Colts.
Yeah, I'm actually with you. If I were in a picks league where I had to pick against the spread on every game, I would take the Colts. That said, I do love the Bills in a teaser. I think, just like you, I think it's going to be a really close game, but I really do expect the Bills to win. I think one of the major advantages is that they're going to actually have parts of the Bills Mafia in the building, which is just staggering after the season.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I think the Bills find a way to win. Again, if you had a gun to my head and I had to take one side against the spread, I would agree with you, and I would definitely lean Colts. Now, from a fantasy perspective, Tommy, kudos to you. One thing we didn't really talk a ton about is the Jonathan Taylor call. You called it a way back every week on Against the Spread with my buddy George Templeton. He makes it a point to every time he references Jonathan Taylor, he always says something about how you were the guy, you were kept plugging away on him, even when it looked like he was going to have a down season. So he's currently ranked right around 3rd in terms of like DFS running backs. Is that actually too low? Should he be ahead of Kamara this week?
I would have him ahead of Kamara just because we have the uncertainty revolving around Alvin right now, whether or not he's going to play. If we know Alvin Kamara is going to play, go ahead and play Alvin Kamara because we know what he does with Drew Brees. But if you had to set your lineup like right now, if you're in DFS or whatever, I would go Jonathan Taylor over Alvin Kamara just for the uncertainty. I mean, the guy just joined Edger and James and Marshall Faulk as the only 2 rookie Colts ever to have over 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns in a game. So I think it's very fair to have Jonathan Taylor up there, given what he's been doing. He's had 70 yards plus in 6 of the last games and topped it off with 253 last week. And actually, a fun little fact was that him and Derrick Henry are the first 2 players ever in NFL history to have 250-yard rushing games in the same day. And it's only this 3rd time that it's ever happened, that it happened twice in one season, which I thought was pretty incredible for what those guys were able to do that weekend.
Yeah, we talk sometimes about fantasy players who come through at the end of the season, and sometimes, like, if you were a Jonathan Taylor owner who didn't make it into the playoffs, boy, it had to be rough watching him go off the last.
Yeah, absolutely would have for sure.
But it is what it is. Again, I like the Bills as a teaser. I lean Colts. Sounds like Jess does as well. Let's shift to the second game on Saturday.
I do want to say before we move on.
Yeah, go ahead. Absolutely.
For you guys that are looking on different things, an interesting little one. You can get Josh Allen right now. His line is at 29.5 rushing yards. He's had more than that in 7 of his games this year, and you can get him at plus 900 to score a touchdown. We know he's their number 1 back. A little interesting little play, plus 2,500 Zach Pascal touchdown. I think that's a really interesting one. Tre'Davious White's going to be on T.Y. Hilton. Michael Pittman Jr. has kind of been struggling. If they're going to be playing from behind or in a close game, Zach Pascal could be a sneaky little one at plus 2,500.
Look at you throwing out the player prop bets. Proud of you. Look at that.
And for once, I thought I'd actually study a little bit for this.
I was just gonna say that sounds like somebody actually was like looking over his own notes. So
I don't have 20 different leagues to worry about anymore. I got free time on my hands.
All right, let's shift over to the NFC West in the 4:00 game, 4:30 game, whatever it'll be here on the East Coast. We got Rams. It was +4. It's now down to +3 at the Seahawks. Total 42.5. This is the lowest total on the board.
Yep.
A lot of unknowns about the Rams quarterback situation. I'm not sure how much it even matters. Tommy, we'll start with you this time. We've got Metcalf right there on the screen. I'm assuming he's going to see a lot of Jalen Ramsey, and he has not done really well in these matchups with Ramsey so far. Does that make Lockett a play? And is there anyone else on either side from the Rams that you can trust because of the uncertainty at quarterback?
I don't even know if I want to say Lockett's a play because I think we had this false misconception based off where his end of season rankings are versus what he actually did throughout the whole season. If let's just look solely on the 2 games these guys have lined up each other, right? So we have Metcalf on the screen. DK Metcalf in their 2 games, he had 12 targets, 8 receptions, and 87 yards in their 2 games played against the Rams this year. We look at Tyler Lockett. He had 8 receptions on 14 targets for 110 yards. So combined, we've got 16 receptions, 26 yards, and 197 yards combined. That's not good, especially because when you look at the Rams defense, the Rams are number 1 in pass defense against the quarterback. They're number 1 against the wide receivers. They are number 4 against the running back in terms of fantasy points allowed. So it's a struggle. And I kind of want to hit on Tyler Lockett a little bit. Like I said, he finishes wide receiver 8. But ask anyone who actually had him on their team this year, and it's going to be a little bit of a different feeling. In the 16 games played, he was startable. So I say startable is in top 24 if you're playing in two wide receiver formats, in only 6 games. He was outside of the top 37 in 9, and he was outside the top 48 in 7 different games. 144.7 of his points came in only 4 games this season. That's 54.5%, and that includes 9 of his 10 touchdowns on the season. Those all either games that were against Arizona or in Arizona last week with the 49ers, as 1 game against Dallas.
You know who that reminds me? Go ahead. You know who that reminds me of is Odell Beckham when he's healthy.
Yeah.
As a Beckham owner, it's so boom or bust where you get the weeks where he goes bananas, you get other weeks where he's got 2 catches for 13 yards. Sorry, go ahead and finish.
And it's just so weird because you have a guy who in 2018, him and Russell Wilson were perfect in the red zone. Then last year he leads the NFL in red zone targets. And then to this year, outside of 4 games, he was essentially unusable. It's a very weird thing for him this year. I don't love this matchup, obviously, with the Rams. It's a game where, like I said, for me, I just have so many question marks. You can throw in Cooper Kupp, throw in the issues with the wide receivers. Cam Akers dealing with his ankle, although he played last week. It's just a game, personally, I would try to stay away from if possible.
From a betting perspective, Jess, it sure seems like Vegas is begging us to take the Seahawks at -3 here. I know a lot of people on the under as well. 42 is a really low number. What do you think? Are you going to bite? Are you going to take the Seahawks -3?
I'm considering it, yes. And I'm leaning the Seahawks at -3. I like it better than taking the Rams because, the Seahawks defense has improved dramatically from the beginning of the season. They have limited opponents to 16 points and 208 passing yards per game over the last 8 games this season. I also feel like they have established just a balance offensively and defensively. And they're going up against the Rams where, like you said, is questionable or it's definitely going to be, John Wolford. And to me, I feel like Goff, you know how I feel about Goff. Have I expressed
you probably
about him throughout the season?
Going to Wolford.
Yeah. Yes. I feel like it's going to be low scoring because they are the Seahawks Rams defense, definitely top tier. However, I feel like they're going to be able to come out on top and be able to escape a 6-point win. Again, I'm leaning towards if I actually make the bet, I will definitely let you know on Twitter. But so far, I like the Seahawks in this one.
Yeah, I might have to pull the trigger on this one. When it comes to playoffs and wild card round specifically, there are a lot of things. If you want to really simplify it, you look at coaching, you look at quarterback, and you look at overall defensive efficiency. And I mean, the coaching, I think it's pretty much a wash. There are people who think McVay's a genius. There are others who aren't convinced. Carroll's been there before, whether you love him or hate him. But the quarterback thing, to me, I mean, we forget Russell Wilson week 8 this year was everyone thought was the MVP was over. Now, has he been as prolific the second half of the season? No. Are the Rams familiar with him? Absolutely. But come crunch time between these two teams, I'm probably going to pull the trigger on the Seahawks. I can't believe it got down to 3.5. I could see you want to, leave a little spice there for the Rams, but I'm going to end up, I have not done it yet because the number keeps going in that direction. So I'll wait it out. And if I see the juice get a little too high, then I'll jump on the Seahawks. But the number hasn't stopped moving at this point. So I'm probably going to be on the Seahawks in this one.
I think part of the reason you kind of saw like Russell Wilson take a little bit of a step down from his MVP candidacy at the time was kind of the impact of what Chris Carson brought back to that team. They kind of shifting back and forth between DJ Dallas and all these other guys, Carlos Hyde at one point. When you get back someone who is as underrated to a sense as Chris Carson, this offense who actually is going to be a free agent this season, I think that kind of gave them, hey, we can be a little balanced. We don't have to rely on Russell Wilson, even though it was effective. And it's when you're winning games in the NFL, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And for them, that was essentially what happened when you had the balance more of attack with a Chris Carson, which I think is kind of one of the reasons that we kind of saw this little bit of a downturn for, like, say, Metcalf and also for Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I don't have much else to add for that one. Let's go to the primetime game. We get the Washington football team in primetime yet again. I still don't understand why they had Washington in primetime last week, and I don't.
It was just so we could watch what happened with Jalen Hurts. That's the only reason.
We won't get into that. I spent enough time listening to the rant about it on the podcast this week. But we get Bucks at Washington football team. Bucks -8, -8.5, depending where you're looking. The total in this one, 45. Tom Brady, historically, the last couple of years, not fared very well in these primetime games in the playoffs. Look no further than last year.
Playoff games in general.
Yeah. Look no further than last year against the Titans and Tannehill and company. He also is not great when he's pressured up front. Just ask the New York Giant fans. And, Washington, that's what they're known for, putting pressure on the quarterback. So, Jess.
Chase Young already said he wants this game.
He did. He went out there. He said he wanted Brady. So
careful what you ask for sometimes.
Sometimes, right? What do you think, Jess? Is the value on the road favorite? Or I know there's a lot of sharp money coming in on the Washington football team. Which way are you leaning in this one?
This is actually one of my least favorite ones. I don't know. I would only take the Bucks at -7. And I just don't trust the Washington football team at +8 or 8.5. And if it drops down to 7.5, I will buy the hook and take them at -7, like I said. But looking at the teams, you have the Bucks where they have the best run defense in the league this year, and I feel like they will shut down Antonio. The football have to rely on Alex Smith to win the game for them. And even though the Washington football team does have a stout defense, keep in mind, Tom Brady has one of the quickest releases in the league. And if he's going to get the ball out quickly to all of his explosive weapons, and then on top of that, they have their great run game with Ronald Jones. Both teams do have this, but I feel like the Bucs significantly have a better offense. I feel like the Bucs should be able to control a 10-point lead for the majority of the game. But again, it's one of those games where I just kind of, like you said, Chris, I'm kind of watching it. I'm going to see what it drops down to before if I even actually jump the gun and place a bet on it.
Yeah, I love the Bucks here. I don't want to lay the 8.5, so they're actually the second leg to my teaser with the Bills. I had Bucks Bills. I got them both under 2. I still like it if you get it to 2.5. Anything under a field goal, I think, is definitely plenty of value. I think we forget that the Washington football team is a 7-9 team, that they really could have very easily been 6-10. And on the outside looking in, I think we overdo some of their defense. They've given up 30 to Arizona, 34 to Cleveland, 31 to Baltimore, 30 to the Rams. That's a lot of 30-point games for a team that we're acting like it's some kind of elite defense. I think Tom Brady and company do damage in this one. Again, I don't love laying 8.5 in a playoff game, especially with a road team. So I'll just tease that down. But I really like Bucks Bills as a 2-team teaser on Saturday. From a fantasy perspective, DFS perspective, just touched a little bit on some of the guys with some question marks, injury stuff. Mike Evans sounds like he's going to play. Antonio Gibson sounds like he's going to play. Tommy, do you have any thoughts about either of those two guys and how they fit in, or the Bucks wide receivers specifically, since both Godwin and Brown had big games when Evans went out last week? What do you kind of do with the hierarchy there?
For me, if I'm looking at Evans and what he kind of did, like that, like knee hyperextension, I think it's surprised that he's even a game time decision for this, to be honest, because it looked like it could have been something regarding like an LCL or even worse with what happened with him. It might be one of those two, like, because Bruce Arians is a very savvy coach. He might be sitting here saying, look, hey, he's eligible to play at this point, and he's making them have to worry about scheming against Mike Evans and his deep ball threat. So there's a very good chance he might actually not even be active in this one. They might leave him active. That's fine if they don't want to race, if they want to leave the roster spot. But it's not someone I'd be looking out there going out there to play in fantasy. There's actually one on Monkey Knife Fight, and it's a rapid fire where you can get Mike Evans involved in that, which I kind of would be interested in. Anything going against Mike Evans on a fantasy point basis, because even if he's active, I don't love him in this matchup. And you kind of touched on Antonio Gibson, where I think for me personally, I would kind of look past Antonio Gibson a little bit and go more towards your J.D. McKissic. With Tampa Bay, they allowed the fewest fantasy points on the ground to running backs this season as 8.83 points per game, but they gave up the 5th most fantasy points through the air to running backs at 11.65. And they came like of their total points given up, 57.5% came through the air to running backs, which was the highest percentage in the NFL. So I would actually lean more towards J.D. McKissic in this one, and I think it's interesting at plus 1,400. You can get him at a touchdown right now. We kind of got to worry about what's going to happen with the turf toe for Antonio Gibson, and if they're going to be playing for a little bit from behind, I think they would try to go away from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' strength, which would be the run defense. McKissic makes a little more sense, especially when he was number 2 in the NFL this year in targets with 102, only 2 behind Alvin Kamara.
Nice. I don't know. Do we want to go to the Sunday games, or do we want to? I'm kind of waiting it out. Let's see. Let's go ahead. Let's go to the Sunday games. We'll start with what I think is the best game of the weekend. Ravens Titans 3. The revenge game, perhaps. We'll start with you, Tommy. You talked a little bit earlier about Dobbins and how you actually like him for some of your Monkey Knife Fight plays. I'm big on him this week too. I actually had a question for you, selfishly. I'm in a league, not a league, but I'm in like a tournament where we draft, a redraft week for fantasy for the playoffs. And I have the last pick. I can get either Brady or Tannehill for my quarterback. So I'm curious who you'd lean in that one. And then just go ahead and talk about this game from a DFS and fantasy perspective altogether.
I think Brady and Tannehill is kind of interesting, but I would probably go Brady in this one, because there's a solid chance that Tannehill and them might just lean on the rushing game. Like, you've got Derrick Henry doing what he does, so it wouldn't surprise me if they kind of go away from that. So I think Brady might make a little bit of sense, although Tannehill does have like that sneaky rushing ability out of him. Like when he broke away on that long touchdown run the other day, that was kind of impressive at him last week. And like I said, I do like Dobbins. I think it's one-sided when you kind of look at like the fantasy matches, like far as like points against goes. Like Tennessee probably has the worst defense in the NFL in this one. Right now they're allowing 100 rushing yards per game to running backs. They're tied for 4th in touchdowns allowed to running backs at 20. As a defense, they're allowing the 3rd most fantasy points per game as a total to the skill players at 83.58 per game. That's kind of why I like Dobbins. Like, he's rushed right now for 230 yards in his last 5 games. We saw him had a good game last week. Over his last 6, he's got 6 touchdowns in this one. And like Dobbins right now, like he's coming off a very solid week going against these guys back in even week 11, where he had 85 yards and a touchdown against the same Tennessee team. How much are they going to want to try to move off Lamar Jackson? Because we kind of know his struggles a little bit in the playoffs. The last time these teams met up, they forced Lamar Jackson to throw for a career high 59 times because they got behind pretty quickly against Tennessee, so they can keep it a little bit closer in this one. especially if Tennessee just wants to run Derrick Henry. They take a little bit of the air out of the ball at that point. Your time possession gets a little extended on that one. So I think Dobbins is a very intriguing play in this one. He would probably be like a top 5 running back, especially in the wild card round.
Yeah, it's funny you brought up the fact that Jackson had to throw a ton because they were down early. And my biggest thing with Baltimore is always once they're down, they're done. They've shown they haven't been able to come back against anybody. But the Titans are the one team that they showed this year, because the Titans defense is so bad. It's not nearly as good as it was last year when they beat Baltimore in the playoffs. So even though the Titans ended up winning that game on a Henry walk-off in overtime, he didn't have that great a game against them either. I think at one point in the third quarter, he was only averaging like 4 yards per carry before he broke a couple long 20-yarders in the end of the fourth, and then in overtime. So I'm kind of hinting at the fact that the Ravens -3 is my favorite play of the weekend. I'm going to be careful on this one because those people who either follow me on Twitter or those of you who know me know that this game literally last year was the one that broke my back last year. I kept going back live betting. I was like, they can't lose to the Titans. They can't lose to the Titans. They can't. But they did.
They lost.
And I kept throwing more money at it and more money at that. I still have nightmares about that. But I strongly believe
you paid for a learning experience. That's what we'll leave it at.
There you go. I didn't pay for a win that time like I do when I fade the Dolphins. It didn't work quite like that, but I strongly believe third time's the charm. So I'm going to be on the Ravens in this one. We're going to find out what Jess thinks in a little bit, but first, we are lucky to be joined by the lovely Anita Marks. You may know her from ESPN's Daily Wager. She also does On the Mark here on Thursday evenings on PFN. And you can actually see her tomorrow with our guy, Brett. They're going to be doing the Rams-Seahawks game live, hot mic. If you're interested, the link is in the comments, and I'm sure you'll see a lot of retweets around. So be on the lookout for that tomorrow at around 4:40. So, Anita, welcome. How are you? We haven't seen you in a couple weeks. How's everything?
I'm great. I'm a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little nervous about tomorrow. So typically, I don't know about you guys. Like, well, first and foremost, guys, Happy New Year. I haven't seen you since the New Year. So first and foremost, Happy New Year. All right.
What are we drinking?
It's a white Cote-Rone. I'm into you. I feel like every time I'm on with you guys, I'm drinking a Cote-Rone. I'm into French rhymes right now. I mean, and I'm just bleeding that. I could still have a white. It's only 30 degrees here in New York. Like once it gets into the teens, then I think that's when whites are unacceptable. But
okay, I was gonna say, does white follow the same rules as rosé? Is there like a time frame with this too?
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I bought a rose. Like rosé to me, like. Yeah, I think
it was November 1st was your cutoff date.
I think once the temperature dips into the 50s, I think the 50s is like when you cut off the rosé.
Isn't that like September though from the New York area? I mean,
no. September?
No.
Thank God.
This year we were good right up until Halloween. Then
the weather conditions have not been that bad. But So okay. So what I was gonna say is because of COVID, I've been like uber careful, like epically careful, and I don't go to restaurants. I've been somewhat of a homebody, which isn't me. I've been really careful, and I have this like little bubble of friends that I hang out with, that I let in my home, and I do things with, and they're very careful. We all get tested at least, once a month. We all get tested. We get the little, brain tickle. And
a tickle until that person's pissed off. They want to rub your cerebral cortex.
And it is not pleasant. But we've established, we've created this like really fun Sunday. I've got 3 huge TVs going, and there are 3 other women who are like my dearest friends. But we're like sailors. We're drinking. We're cursing. I'm betting. Like we're just like, I'm a little nervous as to like around the third quarter. what's going to happen.
It depends on how the bets in the games are going, though.
That's what I'm a little like we have to be really careful in regard to our conversations. Like I'm a little nervous about it, but it's going to be a ton of fun. So I'm welcoming everybody to come watch the game. Not only am I going to be talking about, what's happening within the game and you can interact with us, but I'm going to, during the commercial breaks and, in between the quarters and the halves, I'm going to be previewing the other games. Like I really love Washington against the Bucs. And I'm not saying that they're going to win. I am going to put some money on the money line. I'm going to do it. But I really like the +8. I like the under. I love that Chase Young came out and called out Tom Brady, said, I want you. He's coming after you, Tom. And I love it. So I'm over on sacks. I know a lot of people are like, that game. I'm probably more excited about that game than any game. Oh, I think Washington is coming for you.
Yeah, what did you get for a number on that sack total?
On what?
The sack total.
It has not been released yet.
Whatever it is, you're going over.
Chris, trust me. Like every 30 minutes, I'm all over the place. So again,
I'm refreshing for it right now.
I know. I'm sure you guys talk about this, like, right? Like a lot of people ask me, like, well, what's your betting platform? Every single one of them, because they all offer something different. They're all unique in their own right in what they offer. So I'm all over. I'm on DraftKings. I'm on FanDuel. I'm on BetMGM. I'm on William Hill.
Yeah, I'm over here in Connecticut, desperately waiting for them.
I think the best thing you can do too is
use those.
Find when the promo codes are coming out. If a new site is using a promo and they're giving you a money match or whatever, that's when you go open up a new account, because it also kind of opens up your portfolio and like the different avenues you can go around. Some people might have a money match on this game. Some people might give you an odds boost somewhere else. You just kind of open up your odds of trying to find a really good line that you might really like, or like in this case, a player prop.
Yeah, I gotta give.
And what a great job by our producer Brett. Monkey knife fight, right? Like monkey knife fight. You know where I've been winning a lot of money lately is the snake drafts on FanDuel.
Yeah, you love those snake drafts. You were talking about that last time.
And wait, and here's a big key for you. So you really want to like swindle people. So
I'm all for free money. Like I don't care.
So I go on. I do these drafts. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm admitting this. This is embarrassing. So I go on it like, first of all, my handle is Sexy Baller 8.
You just totally outed yourself. For all those people who thought they were playing against the noob.
It's fine. That's my handle. So. Anyway, so I go on at like 1:30 in the morning. You know why? Because you've got all these young kids on there, right? They're like stealing.
This is such a big brain strategy right now coming out.
Oh, wait. This is the best. They're
drunk college.
This is such a strategy.
Oh my God.
Because they're stealing their parents' credit cards.
Oh, God.
Right? They're going online, they're creating accounts, and I'm probably drafting against a bunch of these, with all due respect, young boys that are fans of, I don't know.
I feel like I'm getting attacked right now.
And so I could just see, I see the way that they draft. I see the players, I pay attention to the players that they're drafting. And so if you go on like around 1:30 in the morning, and again, I have no idea who they are. There's no message board. You can't chat with them. But I'm just getting the sense they're very inexperienced. I'm taking advantage. Okay, I'm admitting it. I'm taking advantage.
Part of me honestly just wants to start doing these drafts just so if I can find you in a lobby, just so I can be like, I found you.
I will text you.
Where's Waldo on FanDuel?
Like, okay, 1:30 in the morning, I'm going to be on.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing, and here's another one for you. I love the $10. Like they're not. You can't get them now because the regular season is over. So now the most number of people that are drafting are 8, sometimes 6. But I love the $10 entry for 6 to 8 people on one day. Because now I've done my research. You all do your research, right? Right? Like this is our jobs, what we do for a living. So I've got players that I know that I've got a deeper cheat sheet of players that I know that I'm going to go after.
Well, it's not like when you get past like round 6 and you run out of names. Like you have a player pool where you can keep stacking depth at that point.
Yeah.
That's why I always try to do single entry stuff, because I want to stay away from guys who are just throwing spreadsheets and whatnot in there. That's the only thing I don't like.
Love about Monkey Knife Fight is I don't have to deal with that kind of stuff too. And so you can kind of mix and match. Like if you want to play against a bunch of sharks or whatever, do that. You want to do your single entries, and you can kind of go around and do your set a whole lineup. Just play like normal fantasy every single week. Or if you just want to play, player props, like you kind of have this mix and match. And I think that's what's so great about like the whole, like the DFS and the fantasy community, like all coming together to all of these different websites, is that you have all these different options. And like, I know for me, it's been the touchdown dance. That's been my most profitable thing. Like my locks of the week that have came from that, and they've hit.
I love that touchdown dance.
That's the thing. Like, we talked about it earlier. I want to talk to you about this one too. Like, the only things I really like this week are coming from the touchdown dance, and it kind of sucks that we don't have the star shootout that I would normally like play for. So like for me, I'm keying in on like the Baltimore Tennessee game, and I'm going like Derrick Henry, J.K. Dobbins, and like Mark Andrews for my 3 in a touchdown dance. Like that's my big.
Actually, Brett and I talked about that on the mark. We ended the show. First of all, I had Jenna Lane on last night. So if you want to find out, what's the latest with Mike Evans, how you think this Buccaneers offense is going to perform against Washington, go check out on the mark, of course, on the PFN websites and all things social media as well as mine. She was fantastic. And one little nugget that she did give us is that she's with me. She agrees that Washington is going to be coming after Tom. He's not going to have a lot of time out there. So he's going to be looking to get rid of the ball a lot quickly. And that person is going to be Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown right now kind of operates his wheelhouse is those quick little, right off the line slants, 3-yard slants, 5-yard outs. And so I'm expecting Antonio Brown to get a ton of volume, a ton of targets, just
especially
because
Mike Evans isn't going to play this week.
Going to be getting after Tom. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Jess, go ahead.
So Anita, how about the Anita and Jessica bottle of wine betting? I have a question for you. So out of all these games this weekend, what's your favorite? I feel like we should throw a bet on it. We got 6 games. You tell me.
I know.
What's the score on your guys' wine bets?
We're 1-1. We're 1-1. Are we?
I believe so. I believe 1-1 because you
1 and 2.
I'm up or you're up?
Yes, you're up. You're up.
Jess lost the last time. That's right.
So Jess,
yes.
Full disclosure, Jess was so nice and kind, and she texted me and asked me for my address. And so I just said, listen, let's keep a tally. And, when we get to 6 or when we get to 12, then we'll send a half a case or we'll send a case. Yeah.
Is that your way? Wait, hold on. Is that your way of saying that you think you're going to beat Jess in 12 consecutive bets? I think that's
right now I'm just up 1. And so instead of spending extra money on the amount of money that it would cost to ship 1 bottle of wine, why don't we just hold off and see?
What I love is Chris isn't involved in this, but he's just sitting in the back of the corner with a stick, just kind of poking and antagonizing.
Before gambling became legal, before gambling came legalized, didn't you have like a set number as to when you met your bookie?
Yeah.
Right? Right? Like, did you have a set number? Like, all right, when I get to $2,000 or I get to $5,000, whatever it is, like,
and then run away.
Right? Like, okay, then we'll meet up.
Right.
For a drink. In
the mall parking lot. No, trust me, I'm old enough to know that. So what do you get? There's got to be a game so Anita, we know, is on Washington. That much we know.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What else, Jess? Right. What do you got?
So wait, let me do this. I want to call up. I want to see because aren't the lines? I'll tell you. Okay, so
there's been some movement.
Oh, are you kidding? So
Seattle's great. Go ahead.
What I find interesting is, keep in mind, probably the biggest sharp money that came in was when the Colts Bills line was released. That line was released. If you guys recall, that line was released. Colts plus 7.5. And like, I mean,
Didn't
like
stay there long.
a ton of wise guy money came in on the Colts. So that line is not moving. Okay. So,
I think
anyway,
I said it was down to what, 6.5, right?
Yeah, it's
so
6.5.
so I like the Bills minus 6.5. I like them a lot.
There you go.
I like the Colts on that one.
I think a ton
I'm
of
on the
points are going
Colts
to be
on
put
that
up in
one.
that game. Okay, all right. And I think here's another thing. I think a lot of these games are really good teaser. Like I think the Bills and the Steelers are a great 2-team tease. I think the Rams and Washington, or even the Rams, Washington, in the Washington Tampa under in a 3-way tease. Talk about those. So look at the Rams plus 13, Washington plus 17.5, and the under at 54.5.
Yeah,
like,
I did.
Sign me up for that. I'll drop $100 on that.
I did Bills Bucks, but I'm with you on the total there. I don't love
I love the under
totals, but I do like where you're going with that.
Absolutely.
So
Tommy, go ahead.
So really quick. Bills, Rams, Washington, Ravens. I think the Saints just demolish the Bears. And here's the one I'm really perplexed with. How are the Steelers still at 6 with all the crap that Cleveland has been dealing with all week long? Why and how is that line still stuck at 6 for Pittsburgh? Yeah. I mean, listen, Stefanski very well could win Coach of the Year, and he's not going to be on the sideline.
Yeah, that is a weird. There are so many weird things about that. You're right. They're just begging you.
That's a big red flag for me. So as much as I like the Steelers, somebody knows something.
Yeah,
Vegas doesn't lose money.
Something. So yeah. I'm using that Steeler game as a tease. I do believe the Steelers win by how much? I don't know, a point, 3 points, who knows? But you're
not afraid to lay the 10 with the Saints. It sounds like.
Oh, I think it's 9.5 now. I think I said it on Daily Wager tonight. I said I am walking I'm walking my dogs probably at the start of the fourth quarter in that Saints Bears game. I'm taking it.
Are you worried though with that one with the status of Alvin Kamara since he has not been cleared yet off COVID protocol?
No, because here's the thing. A lot of people are really excited, right? Really stoked about the addition of Michael Thomas and him being back.
Meh.
But here's what he does, Tom. He stretches the field for that offense. That we talk about Drew Brees and it's an electric offense. That is a dink and dunk. That is a small ball offense that him and Sean Payton play. Yeah. And what Michael Thomas, all he has to do is just be on the field. Michael Thomas is arguably and by the way, reports out of New Orleans for me, what I'm hearing is that he's the healthiest he's been all year. He has been held back for this, and he is ready.
Probably the healthiest he's been since he's gotten a fight because the teammate called him Slant Boy.
He is ready. He is ready to go. He is ready to rock. So you have him out there. Like think about like him coming out and warming up, right? And in that Bears secondary that's injured. Okay, they've got a lot of injuries. Was it Jalen Johnson? Ward, whatever.
We don't know what's going to happen with Raekwon Smith either, right? Isn't his elbow all jacked up?
So they're going to be looking over there and seeing Michael Thomas warm up, and they're going to be like, "Oh shit!"
You're in for a long day.
And so what he does, even if Drew doesn't even pass him the ball once,
decoy.
Just have him run go routes. That respect that he'll get from the defense is going to open up so many things underneath.
Yeah.
And if Alvin Kamara, is post-COVID healthy, I think I love Alvin Kamara over in receiving yards, over in receptions. I think
if Alvin Kamara plays, take him in the over on basically everything. Without question.
I think because Michael Thomas is now back integrated into that offense, it's going to open up so many things for Alvin Kamara. He should have a monster day.
I think it's interesting. Because I'm actually looking up right now, like Alvin Kamara, like on Monkey Knife Fight or whatever. They don't have him listed right now on there,
Cool, because he hasn't. I don't think they've taken him off the IR list.
He has not. No, that's the thing. He has not been brought back. But I think it'll be very interesting to see where some of these different games move on Monkey Knife Fight once Alvin Kamara comes back. Because, like I said, like I'm very like this slate is very weird for me on there. Like the touchdown dance are the ones I'm looking at. But if I can get some of the ones like in the fancy points or like the reception idea, like the reception areas on this one for Alvin Kamara, like fantasy points in general, like I think he would make a lot of sense in this game. Like a lot of people are probably going to go towards David Montgomery, but we got to realize like the New Orleans Saints rush defense is fantastic. Montgomery might have a hard time if he's not scoring touchdowns, and if they get far behind, Trubisky's going to be throwing the ball all over the place and directly to Allen Robinson because you've got Darnell Mooney who might not even play in this game. So it's going to be nothing but the Allen Robinson show for the Chicago Bears at that point.
Yeah, I was looking. I think the Allen Robinson reception is 5.5 or 6.5.
I would smash that.
I know both him and Robinson and Michael Thomas are both at like 69.5, 70 yards. I'm staying away from the yards just because the Saints are one of the best teams in regard to keeping everything shallow, and also their defense has the least amount of missed tackles of any team in the NFL.
I guess my thing also with Allen Robinson, like, he's probably going to see Marshawn Lattimore, but Lattimore's given up he's like win target. He's at like 103 QBR win target. And so if we think he's going to get a lot of volume, that's going to add up at that point to the yardage. Although I do agree, like if you can look just for receptions in general, I think Robinson makes the ton of sense in this game.
Jess, from a betting perspective, did you have a lean on this game, either side or total?
Bears game?
Yes.
Yes, I do. I'm leaning the Bears plus 10 on this one.
Ooh, okay.
But I'm not sure if I'm going to place the bet or not.
So we are against each other on the Colts. Are you guys take notes here? There's wine. There's wine to be had.
I'm writing this down.
That's two games.
So I get Buffalo minus 6.5. You get Colts plus 6.5. I get the Saints minus 9.5. You're taking Chicago plus 9.5. What is there?
Well, these are all.
Is there a third just in case there's a tiebreaker?
See, Jess, Anita's trying to pull you out of your book.
I know, right?
I'm looking right now. This is what the line is right now.
Jess is the queen of purchasing the hook. You got to realize this. She will buy
There's
it.
nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing. But she's gonna have to buy more than the hook. She's gonna have to buy an entire point here with me.
Right.
So
what I noticed one that we're
9.5.
So Buffalo 6.5, Saints 9.5.
So I like how you like the Rams plus 3 because I like the Seahawks minus 3. That's like one of my favorite bets this week. I do like the Colts, but I will only. Yeah, because I like the Colts, but only up plus 7 because I'm going to buy that hook. And then as far as the Bears go, I like it at plus 10.
Chicago's plus 10 in a lot of spots right now, Anita.
Okay, so why don't we just do the Rams? Rams at plus 3. And you get Seattle minus 3, and I get the Rams.
Right, and then I'll jump on your show tomorrow with you, and we could we can banter a little bit about it once we see what's going on with the score.
I would love that. That would be fantastic.
Did you hear that?
You have to tip me.
Hot mic, come on.
You can't come on without a tip, Jess. You have to hit the tip jar.
All right.
Jess,
I love being on the sidelines for this.
Rams Seahawks tomorrow, 4:40. Be there. Jess, Anita, Brett, all of Anita's buddies.
Really quick, I think it's really adorable that both of you, the shirts you guys are wearing. So Tommy, you must be thrilled in regard to the talent.
Yeah.
I mean, do you already put money down that they're going to win their division, the National League?
I do it every year. I do it every year.
One now World Series.
And dude, how about that Knicks defense? I thought it'd take a minute for Tim Thibodeau to really instill that defensive swagger, but dude, I mean,
I love
Are you playing the under tonight?
I didn't touch it. I try not to bet the Knicks games because I got too much invested. It's the same.
Well, you do it for the Dolphins games.
I fade the Dolphins, but that's years and decades of building up.
My best bet in regard to NBA tonight is Bucks minus 5.5.
The Bucks right now have gone to -6. The over-under on that game is 231, and right now the Knicks are up 17-7. You can get the under right now at 201.
Where is it? Right here, right? Let's go, Knicks. Knicks tape. I love the Kentucky kid. I love quickly the Kentucky kid. Oh, I think he's just so good.
Where'd Jess go?
Yeah, where did Jess go? She said, I'm done with the NBA talk.
She just ups and leaves.
She found out what the bet was going to be. She was going to see it tomorrow. She decided she's going to take off.
All right, just remind her there's a tip jar.
All right.
All right, guys. Thank you so much again. Happy New Year. Enjoy the wild card weekend. It's going to be good. Hopefully, we'll all win our DFS matchups, and also some prop bets.
Absolutely.
Oh no, sure. All right, Anita. Thank you. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Boys and girls, you can check out Anita, like we said, alongside Brett, and it sounds like Jess tomorrow for Hot Mic, Rams, Seahawks, 440. I'm sure you'll see it all over PFN, but the link is right there in the comments if you're looking for it directly. So thank you, as always, to Anita for joining us in the 7:30 window. So we kind of covered the Bears Saints, I think, for the most part. We got a couple minutes before we go, so I kind of teased before Anita got here that we were going to get to Jess's thoughts on the Ravens Titans, and then we'll quickly tackle Tommy Steelers against the Browns. So Jess, Ravens, I said that's one of my favorites, -3. You want to just talk quickly about what if you agree or disagree?
I was going to say, this looks like we're in the same boat because I like the Ravens -3 in this game too. It's one of my favorites. I'm definitely leaning towards placing a bet on it. Like you mentioned, Tommy, earlier, Titans have one of the worst defenses in the playoffs, besides the Browns. This is two good offenses going up against each other, but I feel like this is a revenge game, and the Ravens are going to come out, want more. I still see it being close, but I just feel like Lamar is going to be able to expose the holes in the Titans defense, and that they're going to be able to get the win on this game.
Okay, so you and I are in agreement on that one. Let's go to the last game. We'll talk, I almost said Pirates. We'll talk Steelers, Browns. Obviously, we touched on it with Anita. It's been a fiasco from the Browns' perspective. I really feel bad for them.
I don't.
Well, I was just going to get to that. We'll talk about this game. We'll let Tommy take the reins from fantasy, from betting, from whatever he wants, and then we'll get Jess's take, and then we'll get Brett in here to talk about his favorite monkey knife fight plays after that. But Tommy, you're the Steeler fan around here. Are they going to win? By how many? Are they going to cover? Go ahead. What do you got?
I don't know if you can put a line enough high enough. I wouldn't say the Steelers will cover. Okay, maybe that's a little bit of homerism. I do think it's weird though about the whole the -6 and everything for Pittsburgh, even with everything going on with Cleveland. I think they've had 17 different players over the past 2 weeks who have been placed on the COVID reserved list, not even including coaches. Some have came back. I think 10 are still on there. It's just brutal. We've seen several teams have to deal with it, but to do it in your first playoff game in 18 years, that sucks. You don't want to play a team at half strength. You want to go hey, let's take their best shot. But a win's a win at this point. For fantasy this side, are we looking at Ben and Deontay and Juju Smith-Schuster's last games as a Pittsburgh Steeler? I think it's a very
where he's going to be a Dolphin next year. I want no part of him though.
I don't know about that personally. I actually think the New York Jets make a lot of sense. Juju Smith-Schuster, the Jets have the cap space, and also he's one of the most marketable players in the NFL. So to see him under the big lights in New York to build his own brand, I think the Jets make a lot of sense because they also need the quarterback help, regardless of what they do with the second overall pick, whether they take Penny Sewell, Justin Fields, or trade back a little bit. That's a whole different discussion we can kind of get into at that point. And this one, I think I would probably look more towards your Deontay Johnson, who I think is an absolute steal at 6,200. You normally can't get someone like this. He's seen at least 10 targets in the 10 games at him. Yep. What's that?
Target monster. I was just saying.
That's the thing. It's the difference. It's with him and Ben. In the 12 games, those guys have been together throughout the entire game. 10 of those games, he's had at least 10 targets in those. He's had 12.6 PPR points or more in 8 of his last 9 games. It's almost like since the benching, hey, look, Mike Tomlin got through to his head, like, look, you can be sat at some point, and he's been solid since then. I mean, he's had 6 passes in 7 of the last 8 games, with Ben going back to the Washington game. So I think he makes a lot of sense in this one. Juju, I think, will have a good game because I don't think he has another choice. When you go out there and you say the things that he has said about Cleveland, saying they're the same old team and everything after the TikTok dance and things like that, whatever, like he has put a target on his back. And if he's going to go out in a blaze of glory in his final playoff game, he doesn't have a choice but to do this. I can see right there on the Monkey Knife Fight image right there with TJ Watt, your first team All Pro this year. Congratulations to him. And yeah, the other one, like I said, we don't know what's gonna happen, like with Juju, with Chase Claypool, James Washington. It's kind of like a back and forth on who's getting more starts and more looks at that point. But I mean, I would absolutely look towards like your Deontay Johnson being the number 1 option for the Steelers this week, followed by Juju in games where I think they both have something to prove.
In terms of betting, I kind of mentioned this earlier. I love the Steelers as a teaser. If I gun to my head, I would actually take the Browns to cover the 6. I have a feeling they keep it close. There's just, like Vegas said, like you said, too much sharp money is causing it to
Vegas doesn't lose too often.
Yeah, so there's something going on there. Jess, quickly, what are your thoughts on this one?
I like the Steelers -6. I just feel like the Browns with – yeah, they're missing so many key players, and also, their head coach and multiple other coaches being out this week. They practiced for the first time today due to COVID.
That's wild.
And on top of that, we saw last week that they struggled to and they had Mason Rudolph in there. So, and Big Ben is putting up amazing numbers this year, but still at the end of the day, it's Big Ben, and I feel
Ben
like
also got his first rest since week 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Browns have one of the worst defenses along with the Titans. So I just feel like, and Baker struggles against fierce defenses, and it's a good chance it's going to be close, but I just still feel like the Steelers are going to be able to come back, and they're home. It's going to be, I just feel like they'll be easy. It'll be easy for them to cover the spread. But again, this is something I'm leaning. If I do actually place a bet on it, I will definitely announce it on Twitter.
I'm announcing it right now. I'm taking Steelers -6.
Yeah, like I said, I love the Steelers as a tease. I love the Steelers as a tease. I don't know what to tease them with, to be honest, yet. I haven't done it because I don't know what else. I don't love anything in the Saints Bears game. I'm not going to tease the Saints down to 4 and not get through the key numbers of both 70 and 3. So
I think my big one for the Saints Bears is just going to be the Allen Robinson. I think that's the big one for me.
Yeah. One last thing on that game, on the Browns game. First time playoff starters and wild card weekend. I don't know what the number is anymore. I remember last year the number was like 15-35 ATS since like 2003 or something like that. Other than Mahomes, like first time quarterback starters in wild card weekend. It's a trend that's done really well the last couple of decades. So that doesn't bode too well for a team that's already struggling in Cleveland with.
I feel like this year, though, like so many of these like historical stats, we just kind of have to
throw them out the window, right?
There's no home field advantage anymore. Yeah. Like the one I'll give them credit for is like Bills Mafia in Buffalo. Like even though they're only going to have like 6,500, those are going to be the rowdiest, drunkest 6,500 people that I could ever want to be around. And my God, I wish I could be at that game, because I think it's also that Green Bay is going to have fans when they do play next week as well.
All right, we are past 8 o'clock, so we're going to start to wrap it up. Just quickly before we go, Jess, give us a recap of anything you did take or whatever your best bets are moving forward for this weekend.
Yeah, these are all my best bets. Again, I haven't made any, but if I do, I will let you know. I'll start off by saying I love the Colts at +7. Again, buying the hook against the Bills. Reason is Bills are everyone's Cinderella story, and the public's perception is very high on them. The Colts have a good defense, and the Bills are terrible against the run. So that's why I'm taking the Colts on that. I also like the Ravens -3 versus the Titans. I feel like this is the revenge game for the Ravens. They're one of the run and should have an answer for Derrick Henry this time. The Titans have one of the worst defenses in playoffs.
Yep.
And lastly, the Seahawks -3 against the Rams. The Seahawks defense is much improved the second half of the season, and they have a balanced offense. The Rams have a backup QB, and they're going to struggle to move the ball, in my personal opinion.
Excellent. As for me, I'm leaning strongly on Seahawks -3. I'll probably pull the trigger on that. I'm just kind of waiting to see if I can get the best of the number there. I did pull the trigger on Ravens -3. I got that at -115. And my favorite play of the weekend is Saturday right away. It's a 2-team teaser. Bills and Bucks, I got them both. I got them -1 and -1.5. I think right now the best you could do is -2.5. But anything under the field goal is good for the Bucks in that one. And as much as I joke about losing and winning bets, I did go 32-13 on teasers this year. So that's been my one really, really big go-to. So 2-team teaser, Bills and Bucks. All right, Tommy, your turn. What's your favorite monkey knife fight play? Do you have any other monkey knife fight plays that you didn't mention yet you want to drop before we go?
Yeah, I think my big one is going to be going back to the touchdown dance for the Bills. I'm sorry for the Bills, but for the Titans and the Ravens game. And that'll be with J.K. Dobbins, Derrick Henry, and I'm going to go Mark Andrews. I do have an article coming up on that that'll probably be released tomorrow for that one for everyone to kind of see some other of those plays. I think that will be the big one for me. If you want to look more towards like the Buffalo game, like one with maybe like a Derrick Henry. I mean, not Derrick Henry, but I'm sorry, Jonathan Taylor makes some sense and pair him with Stephon Diggs. It doesn't matter who's going to be next. We kind of talked a little about Zach Pascal, how I liked him at the plus 2,500 at that point. I think he makes some sense as your third option. I don't mind that one. Also going to the Pittsburgh Steelers and go one with Nick Chubb, Deontay Johnson, and Juju Smith-Schuster as your 3-person pairing for a touchdown dance on Monkey Knife Fight. I think those would be the ones I would kind of look to, but because I also think they're probably they're the games we feel the safest about. We don't have as many questions about those games as we do with others between like injuries or other things like that. So I think those ones are probably the ones I would be looking at the most this weekend for the wild card. But I mean, if I'll make some plays, I mean, I'll put everything out there on Twitter, kind of let you guys know what I'm going with. And also you can kind of see those big plays in that article that'll be coming out. That'll be releasing tomorrow on Pro Football Network.
Excellent. Check that out. And here he is, Shy Guy, Brett Yaris, joining us only an hour and 8 minutes into the show. What's up, buddy? What's your favorite monkey knife fight play? Tell everybody where we can find you tomorrow. What's up?
I figured tonight I'd let you guys have the spotlight. I didn't want to keep stealing it from you.
Good God, that's the first.
Yeah. So I got 2 monkey knife fight plays. You guys know that monkey knife fight is my jam. I got 2. Both are going to be Bills Colts. Okay. I love that game. You guys know I train a couple of the Colts players. I do technique coaching for them, so I'm emotionally invested in this game. My first is going to be I'm going to play on monkey knife fight there, more or less game. This is where you pick a player from each team to have more or less than a certain statistic. In this case, it's the 2 quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Phillip Rivers. I am going with less than 301.5 yards for Josh Allen and less than 263.5 yards for Phillip Rivers. Josh Allen has not proven that he could be a big game quarterback. We've seen in the biggest games in his career, he tends to not do so well. We know that defenses, the Colts have a good one, as Jess has pointed out, tend to step up in the postseason. And I think that we're going to see Josh Allen fall short of a 300-yard day. I know that Phillip Rivers and the Colts are going to want to pound the rock with Jonathan Taylor. That's going to limit his passing opportunities, keeping his yards to less than 263.5. My second play for that same game is the touchdown dance.
Yep.
Okay. Big fan of the touchdown dance on Monkey Knife Fight. Tommy, you've already talked about it pretty well. What I'm going to do is I'm going Zach Pascal. I'm with you on that. I've watched enough Colts games this year to know that in crucial opportunities and crucial moments, Phillip Rivers seems to find number 14 for the Colts. Yep. I think he does it again tomorrow. I have Zach Brown in there, but that's an error. It should say John Brown, the wide receiver for the Bills, recently activated off the COVID list. I think Diggs is going to see a lot of Rocky Sin with Kenny Moore shadowing over the top in that Colts secondary. And I think that's where we see John Brown, the deep threat really shine through. I think he's going to score a touchdown. And then Jonathan Taylor, the running back, as we've mentioned, they love him. They're going to lean on him. They're going to push him hard. I think all three players combined for more than 3.5 touchdowns. I have them getting 4 with Jonathan Taylor getting 2.
The deuce. I like that.
Those are my 2 favorite Monkey Night Fight plays. And then, as we've mentioned, tomorrow you can find me and Anita, and apparently Jess, which is going to be awesome. We're going to be on Hot Mic. Go to your app store, whether it be Apple or Galaxy, Samsung, whatever stupid phones you guys have. If you want to have Google Play, go download the Hot Mic app. Okay, the link is on our Twitter feed at PFN365. It's not a show. We're not doing commentary. We're just drinking, yelling at the refs, cheering, watching our money hopefully go up, but maybe go down. We got to see how it goes, how we play our games. It's going to be Anita. It's going to be me. It's going to be beer. It's going to be wine. It's going to be Jess. We're going to have a great time. I'm very much looking forward to it. That's going to be the Seattle Rams game tomorrow at 4:40. Download the Hot Mic app right now. If you're good, you come in. You can join the stream with us. You can jump on camera with the 2 of us, with the 3 of us. Give us your takes. Give us what you're excited about. You get to message with us all game. It is not a show for you to watch. It's a show for you to be a part of. It's an experience to watch the game with us and have some fun. Join our watch party. Download Hot Mic and do that. Join us tomorrow, 4:40, for the Rams Seahawks. I think I came in, guys. I think I fucked some shit up. Think we had some fun. I'm gonna leave you to the rest of the show.
I got one more thing for you.
What's up?
You talked about 2 of them already, about Josh Allen and Phil Rivers. Stephon Diggs, 91.5, more or less on Monkey Knife Fight for Stephon Diggs.
I'm sorry. Repeat that one more time.
Stephon Diggs on Monkey Knife Fight, more or less, 91.5. You already covered 2 of the 3 because right now on the more or less, if you go on these 3, if you get these 3 right, that's a 5 times multiplier on your prize. You've already covered 2 of them.
Yes. Now look, the more or less that pays out 5x, right? So you're picking 3 players instead of 2. Yep. I love to play the games that have the better returns, right? So you can play more or less with a 35x return. By the way, you're picking 7 players.
I almost hit that the other day. I'm so upset.
I love to play 1 or 2 every single weekend. So we'll see how that goes. But in terms of this, the challenge with Stephon Diggs is he's going to see. He's been hot these last weeks of the season. He's been super hot.
He's been hot all season.
Yeah. And you know that he's going to see their best corners. Now, the best cover corner on the team for the Colts, is Xavier Rhodes. He's their best true number 1 corner. But what we've seen as a trend is that teams take their second best corner and shadow the safety over the top.
They're basically just putting in bracket coverage at that point.
That's correct. That's correct. And so I think he's going to see a lot of Rocky Sin with a little bit of Kerry Willis. I think I said Kenny Moore before, but Kenny Moore is their slot corner. I think you're going to see Kerry Willis over the top. I think they're going to try to really take Diggs away and see how fresh John Brown's legs are. So I'm actually going to go less than the 91.5 yards.
Okay.
Our Monkey Knife Fights more or less for that game.
There you go.
All right. Thank you, Brett, for joining us. Thanks for giving your Monkey Knife Fight plays. If you didn't already hear it a couple times, please join Brett, Jess, Anita. Tomorrow, Hot Mic, 4:40, Rams, Seahawks. Should be a really fun time. I know I'm going to check it out. I'm sure
a lot of good games this weekend.
It should be fun. We were at 5 at one point. We're down to just 2. Jess had to take off, so huge shout out to Jess. Good show tonight. Hopefully we left you with a little some fantasy advice, some DFS advice, Monkey Knife
elbow room now. Like, this is kind of nice.
It's weird, right? It does. It literally feels.
Yeah,
you have more space. I don't know. There's something weird about it. But thank you to Anita, as always, for joining us in the 7:30 window. Thank you for Brett. Thank you to Brett for joining us. Check him out and everybody else tomorrow. Thank you, Tommy. We'll be back at it next week. Only a couple more shows before the Super Bowl, so make the most of it.
And I got to figure out off-season content because that's always going to be fun.
That's right, Mr. Full-Time over here. So you got to find ways to keep cranking out that content.
I've already started my Dynasty stuff between film watching and just kind of recapping the whole season, like figure out, okay, what's the truth on some guys? Like, just because they finished in one place doesn't actually mean that's where they really were. Kind of like we talked about with Tyler Lockett. It's kind of been breaking down quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers and tight ends across the entire league. Kind of figure out what do we actually know about the entire 2020 season.
My one thing I'm doing, I already told people, and if this is when Slack was still in there, if anybody in PFN is listening, and if you dare try to steal my shit, then you're gonna catch it. I'm doing a gambling-based, NFL betting-based mock draft. You don't see any of those anywhere. You see mock drafts everywhere, but nobody else is doing mock drafts from the perspective of how much you can get paid out for putting guys in certain spots. So that was my thing.
I like it.
Last year, I said it last year. I'm going to be the guy who does it. So everybody else back off. That's my thing. So,
I've got a mock draft coming out here pretty soon, actually, too. So that'll be kind of interesting to see where me and you have guys coming out in this draft.
I like it. Now, a lot of it will depend on if the Dolphins trade everybody for Deshaun Watson, but that's a story for another day.
Just do it. 31 other teams in the NFL should be finding out if they can get Deshaun Watson. Plain and simple.
You wouldn't believe what Dolphin Facebook and Dolphin Twitter thinks about.
That's because it's Dolphins Twitter. Like, y'all are just ridiculous. Like, I'll tell you right now, like, Dolphins Twitter is just insane sometimes. Like, get a grip, people.
Well, good luck to your Steelers this weekend, and hopefully you watch the Ohio State take home the crown on Monday night. So
Jesus.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Check us out next week. Check Brett and Anita and Jess out tomorrow.